another live stream, because why not? This time, I'm gonna use some inspiration from my favorite show, Descendants. You know what? Let's get going. Let's start. The novelization. To my fellow villain kids, for following me back to the aisle. For all those who don't, I'm the daughter of the wicked stepmother. Okay, let's just get on to the story before everyone gets confused on what I'm reading. Oregon is blue skies and butterflies. I mean, what could be better? How about dreaming up all the ways to be wicked? What can I say? Some things never change. Mal and her friends stood around a large steaming cauldron in the dark. She was wearing her signature tough nails, boots, ripped leggings, leather jacket. Her dark purple hair was longer and thicker than ever before. She looked down at her hands, holding her mother's spell book, which she had spray painted with acid green, purple flames that caged a glittering gold dragon in the center. She glanced up at her three friends. There was something venomous in her smile. Despite living in Oregon, Mal was still very much Maleficent's daughter. Evie, the daughter of Evil Queen, grinned at Mal. She wore a distressed blue leather jacket, a graffitied shirt, and necklace with a red gem toppled by a gold crown. Evie tossed her silly blue hair as she stirred the steaming cauldron brew. Jay, son of Jafar, held the bucket of shiny red apples. His biceps bulged out of his sleeveless red-yellow leather vest. Jay emitted great strength and confidence. A light from the cauldron made his eyes sparkle dangerously as he gazed across the swirling mist at Carlos. Carlos, son of Cruella de Vil, who held a bucket of shiny red apples. He was a skinny teen, white hair with black roots. He wore a red, white, and black fur trimmed jacket. He looked at the three friends and snickered. Mal smirked, opening the spell book and read out loud, "Wicked ways beneath the skin. Let all who taste it now join in." She and her friends stared at the cauldron and began to split, boil, and bubble. The spell had worked. Mal and her friends cackled triumphantly. Jay and Carlos dumped the apples into the thickening brew. The four villa kids, or VKs for short, circled the cauldron, howling, and refilled the buckets with the spelled apples. They were about to make mischief. They knew all too well the many ways to be wicked. Within minutes, Carlos was dumping a bucket of spilled apples down the floor of the bright ordered prep hallway in front of the lockers. Cheerful students in yellow and blue tourney jerseys, cheerleading uniforms, and pastel-colored garments watched the apples roll past. They dove to snatch them. After biting into the wicked fruit, they whooped and danced in delight, instantly transforming well-mannered to maniacal. Mal stirred over at the apples, slamming the doors to lockers. The lockers' doors revealing the tag, "Long live evil," which Mal had spray-painted there. She stopped in front of the shy girl wearing a large white bow in her chestnut hair. It was Jane, daughter of Fairy Godmother. She gasped as Mal handed an apple to her. Stoked still in her blue and white yellow cheerleading uniform, she stared at it. She chomped down at the apple, her mouth twisted into a sinister grin. Jane snatched the spray cake from Mal and boldly danced out of the sight. The apple had an intoxicating effect as Mal and her friends continued to share them from across the city campus. They were making everyone and everything a whole lot more fun. Outside, cheerleaders with apples did a routine with Jay before he ran off in the school halls. Carlos slid into a group of guys who fell over. One student bit into the apple, then screwed his hat on backwards and did a flip off the lockers. In one of the classrooms, Evie strode through the rows of students and doled out apples. She strutted to Fairy Godmother's desk, placed an apple on it, and moved on. Fairy Godmother, the school headmistress, bit into the apple. She looked up and down and saw the chaos that erupted. Evie and the students danced and threw loose papers into the air. Fairy Godmother shimmied and shook her hair, joining in the madness that seized her once neat orderly classroom. The wicked fever kept on spreading. On the quad, Jay chucked apples off the balcony with glee. Doug, son of Dopey, was playing the trumpet while one of Jay's apples landed in it. More apples dropped into the trumpets of other band members as well. As Jay continued to fire the apples rapidly, the band players scrambled to catch them and chomped down. In the rose garden, students kneeled down in the stone fountain and dunked their faces into the clear water. One by one, they emerged, flipping back the wet hair with glistening apples in their mouths. Everyone wanted a bite of true evil and mad mischief. They couldn't get enough. Another student who looked up the busy launch jumped up and down, waving their apples and danced victoriously. Mal, Evie, Jay, and Carlos reunited as the fierce squad from the front of Ordon prepped. The castle-like building with proud blue and gold banners rustling from the stone battlements. They rallied in dancing students. Amongst them there were Beast and Belle, who were chuckling. What the heck? Biting apples and jibbed to the sound of the wicked rebellious. Mal marched to a row of hedges and raised in the air with the school flag, which now a dark purple that said, "Long live evil." The horde cheering. Mal loved it. She led everyone further away from the school, climbed a ladder that spray-painted fearsome statue of the representing King Ben's father in the beast form. Mal recalled something her boyfriend Ben had once said about the statue. "My daughter wanted the statue to morph from beast to man, reminding that anything is possible." Anything was possible. Indeed. Mal could laugh at the irony. She grinned and tossed one last spell apple high in the air. It came down, and King Ben, Golden Boy, the only child of Belle and Beast, caught it. He flashed Mal an innocent smile, and his eyes sparkled angelically beneath honey brown hair and swooped across his forehead. Ben hadn't changed. Not yet. He bit into the apple. A devilishly grin broke on his face. If only! Chapter 3. Fine, that never happened. But a girls can dream, right? This is what the story actually picks up. Flashing cameras snapped Mal back into reality. Like that. She's no longer leading the Ordon prep into the core victory march. Instead, Mal faced a mass of rowdy news reporters and camera people at the press conference. Her signature leather getup and her long purple hair were no more. In fact, Mel looked every bit a prissy princess. Like like the very ones that used to mock her when she lived on the Isle of the Lost. Except that instead of pretty pink, Mel's dress was white, and her hair was icy blonde and put up into a bun. There was slight purple ombre to the tips, the only trace left of her villainous roots. Ow! The news reporters called out, shoving microphones into her face. Mal remembered to breathe and to smile. Be ladylike, she reminded herself. Only 3 days to the Royal Cotillion, shouted a reporter. Ever think a girl like you would be the lady of the court? Yelled another. Mal turned to face, unsure of what to address first. How does it feel to be the envied girl in Oregon? Do you like being a blonde? Is your mother still a lizard? Mal opened her mouth. She was unable to formulate a single word. Okay, all right, said Ben to the camera crew as he leaped to Mal's side and looking dashingly. Just this once. Before I continue reading my script. Actually, not a script, it's actually a book. Hold on. Literally a book. Okay. Here's your duckies. There's the duckies. Wow. Once I showed the ducks, everybody was wanting to see the ducks. Okay. Okay, let's continue on with the story, shall we? Alright. As I was saying before my dad decided to interrupt me. Okay, let's continue on. Looking dashingly in his royal blue suit, he held an ordinary apple with a ticket out of it. We'll let you know if and when your particular situation changes, he told the reporter. Mal felt momentarily relieved, but the reporters resumed shouting, King Ben, did you ever think you would be in love with a villain kid? We're done here, Ben said to the crowd, doing his best to ignore the ruckus. He faced Mal and smiled kindly. Fairy Godmother tottered through the rose garden and stepped between Mal and Ben and their frenzied crowd. Her hair was in a loose bun, and she wore pearl earrings and lavender dress with a big pink bow on the neck. As always, she addressed the raucous mass. Okay, she said. Shush, 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 shush. She motioned for silence with her hands. This is still a school, so if you're here, you're either skipping or trespassing. Either way, you need to. People began shouting remarks. Shh, 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 said Fairy Godmother, gesturing again for silence. Once the crowd finally quieted, she smiled. She added with a merry little laugh. The news reporter began to disperse. For good measure, Fairy Godmother said, shoo. Before long, almost the whole crowd had receded to the edge of the lawn. Thank you so much. Thank you, called Fairy Godmother. Thank you, guys, said Ben with a wave. Thank you, said Mal. And she meant it. Mal, Ben, said Fairy Godmother with a nod of acknowledgement. Fairy Godmother, replied Mal and Ben in unison. Fairy Godmother's work was done. She turned to stagger off. Mal looked at Ben. Hi, she said, letting out a flustered laugh. Ben beamed with a comforting smile. Just ignore them, he said, of the throng of reporters who were now milling at safe distance with their cameras at their sides. That's a lot easier said than done. Mal gave him a slight smile. Ben pulled Mal close to him. I know. Maybe we could go out. We should. He glanced at his golden watch. Oh my God, I am so late for the council meeting. He looked into Mal's green eyes and winced. I got to go, he said. That's okay. Mel had nothing but understanding in her voice. We'll finish this though, okay? Said Ben sincerely. Yeah, said Mel, nodding it. In a way, she was strangely relieved. More time to rest, she thought. Keeping up this act is exhausting. Evie right behind Mel, stylish as always. She wore a blue dress with a golden collar and belt. Her long blue hair was down in the loose waves, held in place by a delicate gold headband, insured with red gems. Mal grabbed Mel's arm and spun her around. Mal cried out in surprise. If we don't do you in a fitting for your gown right this minute, you'll be dancing in your bathrobe. Evie told Mal. Bye, Ben, she added and deftly dragged Mal away. There goes my map. Mal turned back to Ben and mouthed, Bye, Ben. In a flash, the news reporters swarmed Ben with microphones and cameras aiming like swords. King Bay! King Bay! Justin! Rush around the cotillion! Ben glanced at his watch. I really got to go. He speeded walk away. The noisy news reporters followed right behind him. Chapter 4. I'm far from being a perfect lady of the court. It's only a matter of time before people see right through me. Sunlight shone through the polishing windows of Mal and Evie's dorm. Evie had made herself at home. A bejeweling periodic table of elements dominated by a wall, and her work table hosted stools and fabric, a sewing machine, and an assortment of multi-sized boxes, colored pencils, and pages of clothing designs she had drawn. Besides, the work table. Evie's handmade dress hung on the rack. One look at Evie's side of the room, and it was clear fashion designing was her passion. Jesus. Mal's half of the room was much more of a zoo. The lids in an aquarium take on Mal's bedside. The table didn't matter. The bore the sign that says, Don't feed my mom. For inside was none other for the evil Maleficent, who had been transformed at King Ben's coronation ceremony from a giant powerful dragon to a puny green lizard. The lizard sat on the mini throne inside her aquarium. Mal stood on the fitting pallet for so Evie could fit on her cotillion gown. The blue and yellow garments, with its layer of holy and darkly glistening gems, was crafted for a true queen. Evie yanked the dress tight in the bonians and pinned it. Mal squawked, Evie, I can't breathe! Evie lifted Mal's arm. Well, you can breathe after cotillionation. She smiled. Mal let a sarcastic laugh. Hi! Well, I sincerely doubt that. I have 20 more events directly behind it, and I can't even remember a single one of them is right now. Mal looked longingly at her leather Isle of the Lost jacket hanging on the hook above the TV. She would have thought about when she had been brought into the car, with her purple hair and jacket, and feared, respected by everyone on the island. Evie, Mal said in a distant way. Huh? Evie held a measuring tape across Mal's gown. Do you ever wondered what we will do right now if we were still back on the Isle? Asked Mal, her mind floating to her friend's hideout there, where they spent their time plotting and planning, crafting mischievous schemes to cause serious trouble. Evie laughed, not really paying attention to Mal's question. That's funny, she said, turning. Well, would you look at that? Look who's on TV. She grabbed the remote, cranked up the volume, and listened to the television while studying some of her sketches. Behind her, Mal plopped down on a sea of yellow tulip on her canopy bed. She and Evie watched the old clip playing on the screen. In it, Mal was sporting a beaded sheer dress and a shawl of delicate gold headpiece. Aladdin and the cream-colored suit and hat, and Jasmine in a long sheer turquoise dress greeted Mal in King bed. Servers placed a meal in the center of the room, filled with cushions and candles. Nice. Aladdin escorted Mal to a seat while Ben led Jasmine to hers. Aladdin and Ben sat down across from each other, and a waitress uncovered a silver dish. Mal picked up a piece of meat. She bit into it and gagged, but covered it up with a smile. When nobody was looking, Mal spit out a napkin when she stretched behind her and beamed with company, watching the TV. Mal blanched. 6 months ago, no one thought King Ben and our girl from the wrong side of the bridge would last, said a news reporter. Yeah, no kidding, Mal mumbled. And the news reporter continued. I don't know for a secret, but Mal is fitting in beautifully now. Footage played of Mal of the press conference earlier that day. She smiled and waved with her white lacy gloves. Mal must be counting down the days till the royal cotillion, where she could officially become the lady of the court. Mal's eyes opened. Don't remind me, she thought. She scooted around in her bed and at a quick look, the lady of manners from beside her table. She pulled her spellbook from under her pillow, opened it, and it hits. Read it fast, at lightning speed. Remember anything I need. She quickly turned the page of the Lady of the Manor that was magically absorbed with the book's fact. Evie walked over to Mel. Well, I know Mal's secret to fitting in, and Ben wouldn't like a bit of one bit. She crossed her arms. Haven't you guys had enough secrets between you two? Mel looked up from the Lady of Manners. You saw what I saw. What I was like before. I started using a spellbook, okay? She said. I was complete disaster. She resumed, flipping through the pages of the book. Well, personally, as your best friend, I strongly believe that you should put your spellbook in the museum along with my mirror, she said, referring to the magic mirror Evil Queen once given her. Whew! So she could find it to steal Fairy Godmother's wand. Evie turned over a new leaf. No more wickedness. She grabbed Mel's spellbook and Mal pouted at Evie and then shut the Lady of Manners. Don't give me that face, said Evie. Put a pout away. Mal frowned. You know I'm right, added Evie. Don't you ever miss just running wild, breaking all the rules? Mal asked. Evie grinned. Like stealing, lying, and fighting? Mal smiled dreamily at Evie's words. Yeah! Evie grinned faded. No, she shouted, breaking out of Mal's fantasy. What? Mal started. Why would we? Evie laughed. Come on here. She took Mal's hand and led her off the bed and towards the TV. Look where we are. We're in Oregon, and we're Oregon girls now. Evie gazed at the screen with her face broke into a smile. A video showed Mal dressed in a crystal and acoustic gown with Ben who wore a smart suit. Want to make him intelligent? They were seated at a table covered in a white tablecloth with a strawberry in a dish and a steamy cup of coffee. Horrible combination. Ben fed a chocolate-covered strawberry to Mel. She then took the strawberry with her white lacy gloved hand, dug into the molten chocolate, and fed it to Ben. She got chocolate on his face and helped him wipe it off. She got chocolate off his face and helped it wiped it off, laughing happily. Ben dipped another strawberry into the chocolate and fed it to her. Mel took a bite, nodded dreamily, and nestled her head into a crook of And of course, there's Mel's wardrobe, explained the news reporter. Oregon has never seen a fresh, exciting look of our hottest designer, Evie. She keeps surprising us. See? This is what the land of opportunity. Evie faced Mal. We could be whatever we want to be here. So please, just leave the past in the past, okay? Besides, have you seen the shoes? Evie lifted a pair of blue and golden heel shoes off her wardrobe. I mean, can we talk about these shoes? Those are severe. Mal forced a laugh. The truth was, Mal wasn't ready to leave her past behind. And she never felt more distant from her best friend than she did at the moment. Chapter 5! As Mom used to say, fake it till you make it. Well, actually, she used to say, listen till you curse it! But same thing. Between class, Mel, Evie, Jay, and Carlos strolled outside the school. Mel wore a frilly green dress with her hair in a long blonde trendles. She clutched a textbook from Fairies 101. She kept her head down and walked beside Evie, who was etopited to fashion in her blue dress and blue box purse. Both of her making Jay and Carlos led to Duke. Carlos' scruffy but adorable dog on a leash. The friends climbed to the step onto a breezy open outdoor patio. Fellow students holding textbooks were miling about, perching in the niches of the school stone wall or sitting on a stone rail. They smiled as Mel and her friends, the VKs, come a long way since they arrived to Oregon. They used to look so down for being the kids of terrible villains, but now they were treated with respect. It helped that Mel was gearing up to be the lady of the court. Jay nodded and pointed to a group of girls who swooned. Why don't you torture them? Carlos asked. Just pick someone to the cotillion already. I'm going solo. That's why I can dance with all of them. Jay squeezed Carlos's shoulder and grinned, wiggling his eyebrows. Ah, you're the expert, said Carlos. Let's say that you were going to ask somebody. What's the best way to go? Listen. Jay rested his hand on Carlos's shoulder. All I gotta do is look like me. Jay howled with laughter. Oh, ha ha! Carlos rolled his eyes. Evie chuckled, but Mel seemed lost at fault. Mel! Said Jane. Mel snapped to attention. Jane had appeared before Mel and her friend clutched the tablet. Lonnie, daughter of Mulan, stood beside her, looking as chipper as ever. Lonnie's long black hair stood out against her bright pink dress. But Mel was in no mood to answer more cotillion questions from Jane, who was helping plan an event. Carlos unwittingly distracted Jane. Hey, Jane, he said nervously. Hey, said Jane, smiling at him. I was wondering if you, liked the carrot cake last night, he said. I had the pumpkin pie, she said sweetly, a bit confused. Oh, cool. Carlos stared at her, unsure of what to say next to impress her. Jay walked behind him and gripped his shoulders. Smooth, he said in a low voice, then swiftly dragged Carlos and Dude away from the next class. Mel braced herself for the bargaining questions. Looking for her, Evie chimed in. I have an opening for the fitting of the 3. Who wants it? Evie asked the girls. Me! Lonnie leaped in front of Jay, then winced. Sorry, she added. Okay, so I'll see you later, Evie told Jane as she pulled Lonnie to the side to chat. Ma was alone with Jay. She felt a deer in the headlights. Emphasis on deer. You know why. Deer in the headlights. And Jane wasn't slowing down. Well, I hate to keep bothering you, but the cotillion decorations committee needed more answers. So much as I hate to bug me, said Mel. Right, Jane said. Yeah, no, totally. I have to get to class. Mal jerked a thumb. You know what? Just nod if you like it. Jane held up the tablet. Okay. Jane used a stylus to sweep through the array of photos of the screen. One after another, the dizziest feeling. Chair swings, and tree banners, twinkling lights. Let's see, napkins designed, tablet Berting. Jane rolled through even more photos. Mal, Mal bobbed her head at each image. And you still haven't picked the last party favors yet, Jane added. Jane, whatever you want to go with, I totally trust you. I mean, we could do chains, key charms, pen toppers, interrupted Jane, continuing from the tablet. I love these kind of pen toppers. She blurted out. This was making Mal so anxious that she could barely breathe. I mean, you could do all three if you want to, continued Jane. You know, Mal's eyes suddenly flashed a bright green. Then she took a breath. Her eyes returned to the normal shade of green. She smiled and rested her hand on Jane's arm. Pen toppers, she said. Uh-huh, asked Jane. Yeah, Mal said. Yeah. Okay, you won't regret it, Jane beamed. Evie and Lonnie walked back to Jane and Mal. I can hardly wait to see your wedding. What is it? I can hardly wait to see your wedding. Will it look like? Lonnie explained. Oh yeah, me too, said Mal with a vacant smile. She thought they'd realized Lonnie had said, wait, what? Yeah, the Royal Cotillion is like getting engaged to be engaged. I knew it. Evie clasped her hands together, delighted. Everybody knows it, said Lonnie. Mal's eyes bugged out. I didn't know it, she said. How come nobody told me that? Is my entire life just planned out to be in front of me and no one was like... Ben appeared at Mal's side in his royal blue suit. Hi, Mal. Hi, Ben. Evie, Jane, and Lonnie said in a song unison. Mal glared at them. The whole engagement conversation had put them even in a worse mood. Ben smiled and moved to give Mal a kiss hello. Jane grabbed him. Oh, quick moment. She pulled Ben to the side. Mal watched from a distance to inch away. All right, the surprise is almost finished for Mal's big night, Jane told him once they were out of the earshot. She held her tablet in front of them, then showed him images of the stained glass window that had a young couple on it. Make sure the eyes are green, Ben told Jane. Behind Jane, Mal caught Ben's attention and nodded sideways as to say, are you coming with me? Ben called out to Mal. Then he catched up with her. Later, he turned his attention back to Jane. Which green should they use? Jane asked. She showed a few rectangular pieces of green stained glass. To Ben, the shades of green were all very similar. Ben took all of them and smiled. He picked up the darkest green. This one. This stared through its dreamily clear picture for his gift of Mal. In the girls' dorm room, Evie pinned a hem of Chad's fox fur trimmed cape. Why did I say it like that? Chad Charming, the pampering son of Cinderella. Chloe was better than you, Chad. I am being brutally honest. Admiring himself in the tall mirror, from his shiny shoes and top of his sandy hair. Ooh, what about peacock feathers? Chad asked. I bet you nobody has those at Cotillion. Evie cleared his throat and let go of the hem. You know what, Chad? When I look at you, all I can think of is King. She framed him with her hands as he capturing the greatness that stole the furtive glance at Doug, who sat at Evie's work table. Doug, who looked every part of the accountant in his owlish glasses. Oh. Green bow tie and long suspenders had been tracking Mel's fashion design business on his computer, tallying numbers. He swerved around his chair and winked at Evie. Obviously, Chad gasped and grinned at Evie's swerve. And fake fur? Fake fur says it all, Evie told Chad, shaking the cape's trim. Truck trussed the fake fur. Loud and clear, said Doug with a nod and a smile. Jerry popped into the room for 5 seconds to shout, and an amphitheater at 5. Amphitheater at 5? Chad said, mocking him. Why did the coach make him the captain instead of me? I'm obviously the better player. He struck an ignorant pose, agreed King Chad. Though you don't mind the sound of that, you know who else would like that? Who? Said Evie for great interest. Audrey, said Chad. She would, said Evie, playing along. Chad, Jay yelled, let's go! Chad frowned. I'm coming! He stepped out of the fitting platform and made his way out the room. Evie carefully removed Chad's cape as he exits. Then she dropped it on the fitting platform and walked up to Doug. They looked at each other and broke into laughter. Not a lot of there. They said in unison as they laughed again. Doug had said the same line to Evie about Chad when they first shown interest in Chad's girlfriend much earlier. Her crush on Chad hadn't lasted long. Literally. The vain and the selfish guys weren't Evie's type. She was much more sweet and dappier Doug. Someone's obviously having a serious trouble dealing with his breakup with Audrey, Evie commented as she picked up the sketchbook, showing a new dress that was initialed gold collar and belt. Doug squinted. His pale green eyes appeared through the glasses of his computer. Hey, I've been doing these numbers. He began to type rapidly. Yeah, Evie marked up her dress design with a pencil. And after we collect from all the girls' gowns in Chad's cave, Doug hit a few buttons. Evie set her paper down on the work table and looked at Doug's computer screen. Her jaw dropped at the numbers she saw, and she laughed. No wonder people work. Wow. She looked up at Doug. What am I going to do with all this money? She looked back at the computer. Doug tapped a few keys. In a few years, you could buy that castle you always wanted. He looked at Evie with untoast earnest. That way you wouldn't need a prince. Evie took his hand and gazed into his eyes. You're right. I don't. Because I have you. Evie loved her life in Oregon. It was everything she ever dreamed of. Chapter 6. I'm so over this place. And apparently Cotillion is way a bigger deal than I thought. Great, now I really have to keep up the perfect princess act. Can't I have some aisle hooligan running Ben's big day? Mal raced to her locker, grabbing her purse from inside it, and rooted around a big bag. Hi, Mal, came a voice beside her. Mal staggered back to find Ben leaning against the locker. Hi! She tried to act cool, letting out a nervous laugh. Ben smiled warmly at her. I have a little surprise for you. Mel grinned. Another one! Wow, that's like every day now. Every other day, Ben corrected her. Then even dates, because you're even more perfect than I thought. That's me. I'm perfect. She kept herself from rolling her eyes. Come on, let me spoil you, said Ben. You know, you didn't have a lot growing up. Mel's smile twitched. We managed, she said. Ben, peering inside Mel's locker, and saw the spell book sitting in a wired tray against the back. He pointed at the book. Didn't you donate that to the museum? He reached for it, but Mal guided his hand away, closing the locker door, and smiled. Is that still in there? Said Mal playfully. She brushed Ben's hair out of his eyes with her finger. I have to get to class. I don't want to be late, so no, you don't, said Ben. But he took Mal's hand and led her to his arm. A few steps, there was a sparkly purple motor scooter with a gold bow on top. Ta-da, said Ben, gesturing to it. Lucky, I always wanted a scooter. Mal gasped and cupped her hands to her mouth. What? Do you like it? Asked Ben. Mal beamed, geniusly thrilled. Does an ogre like cheese puffs? She stepped closer to the scooter and inspected it, feeling the new seat and handles. Ben, this is amazing! She looks up at a small face. I love it! She said, examining the scooter again. She let a joyous laugh, but her face rose. I haven't gotten you anything, she said, gazing at Ben. Oh, well, you're making me a picnic with all my favorite foods, remember? Ben leaned back against the locker and smiled. No, that's on Thursday, said Mel, patting Ben's chest reassuringly. It is Thursday, said Ben, reaching into his royal blue jacket. Mel laughed. No, it's not, she said, grabbing for her purse. Ben quickly pulled out his phone of the jacket pocket and showed it to Mel. Thursday, he said, confirming that Mel was hoped that true. Another slip up, Mel thought. Great, she said. But it's okay, you don't know. Ben started. No. I knew it was Thursday. I was messing around. Mel laughed again. I actually have a few more things to finish cooking, and then I'm all yours. So I'm gonna do that. It's good. I'm good. Mel smiled like she truly meant it. What about class? She multitasks, Mel said, grinning. She patted Ben's chest affectionately and ran off. She dabbles, Ben calls after her. Mel broke into laughter. You're the best, Ben shouted. That's me, sang Mel, but Mel couldn't feel the BRB again. My apologies, once more. My dad interrupted me again. But Mal couldn't feel feeling that the opposite was true. As the captain of the ROAR team, Jay led practice in the amphitheater. When the tourney was having its off-season, some athletes at Ordon Prep took a new blue and gold uniforms, boasting the school crest to play ROAR. Jesus. They led lightweight swords and mesh masks that hid their face and spared within the confines of the indoor arena. That day, students watched from behind the rail from the balconies as Jay and Carlos spared with other masked opponents. Some team members jumped on blue and yellow concrete boxes, even spaced at the perimeter, as the arena gained heights. Chad looked from the sidelines, motioning his sword to try to match Jay's agile moves. Eyes on your opponent! Jay shouted, demonstrating. Light on your feet! Jay thought with each of his opponents, bursting to move the bounds where they removed the mask and watched the sidelines. He faced a remaining competitor who thrust his sword, challenging him. Jay removed his mask. Get him, Jay! Shouted Chad. Out of context, that's kind of gay, bro. The masked fencer that Jay fought striking sword. It was an even match. Watch out, Jay! Said Carlos. Jay and his adversary Sky squared off again, seizing each other. Then they were backing it. Come on, Jay, Carlos called. The masked figure spun, ripping Jay's sword from his hand. Jay gasped. The figure battled Jay backwards to the rim of the arena. Jay kicked his opponent's hand, sending his sword back into his own hands. Finish him! Shouted Chad. But before Jay and his opponents could make another agile move, the mysterious fencer pulled off his headgears and surrendered. The mane and shiny black hair stayed out. It was none other than Lonnie. Jay grinned at the revelation, impressed. Not bad, said Chad, as the students applauded. You should put me on a team, said Lonnie with a smile. Chad stepped into the arena in front of her. What? He looked at Jay. No, dude. We would be last up in the league, right, guys? Sputtered Chad. I mean, what's gonna happen next? We're gonna have girls playing tourney? Chad smirked. Fuck you, Chad. So? Jay asked him. Chad scoffed. So you're not to read the rule books? Let me do that for you. He finished the ROAR rule book out of the back pocket. Section 2, paragraph 3, 311-4. He said, opening a book. A team shall be comprised of a captain of 8 men. Read Chad. He held a book in the air, returning into a circle for the other students to see, and lowered it in front of Jay's face. Jay pushed Chad's hand away. But you're down a man, since Ben had to leave to do all that king stuff, said Lonnie, annoyed at the silly rule and at Chad for enforcing it. Chad let an expirated sigh. Exactly. Down a man, he said, cocking his head to the side as pushing his lips in defense. Jay, Lonnie said, hoping for better news. Jay looked at the floor, then shook his head, genuinely unhappy. I'm sorry, Jay told her. Coach trusted me, and I'm not going to stay captain if I just throw out the rulebook. Lonnie stared long and hard at Jay, disappointed. If my mother thought that way, she would never lost the war. Chad sneered. Okay, he said in a mocking tone. Lonnie sighed and started to walk away. Read the rule book, said Chad, shaking his head at her. Jay said, all right, guys, let's call it. That's practice. He and his said team filled out the room. On his way out, Carlos gazed and saw Jane leaned against the balcony. She was in her cheerleading uniform and held her tablet. Jane! Carlos shouted. Hey, he added. Hey, Carlos, what's up? Jay smiled and looked down at the balcony. Carlos hopped into the concrete block. Below her, not much. You? Jane glanced at her tablet. Way too much. We were going for a blue and gold banner for a cotillion, but now we can't find the right shade of blue. Dude in his ROAR uniform sat on the block and whined at Carlos. Yeah. That's a bummer. Speak of the cotillion, said Carlos. I know, right? Jane interrupted. It's all anybody's talking about 24/7. It's like everything, like there never been one before. Jane let out an annoyed laugh. Ha 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 ha. I haven't, admitted Carlos quietly. Jane opened his eyes. Oh? She quickly tried to save her face. Lucky. She ignored. I always end up serving punch with my mom anyways. And this year, I got stuck on decorated committee because Audrey went off on a spa vacation with Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. Jane grimaced at the thought. Oh, hey, maybe we should have just, Carlos blanched. Skip the whole thing. I really, really wish I could. It's so nice to have a friend who's on the same wavelength. Jane beamed at him. Then her phone dinged. She groaned. I gotta go. Good practice, though. Jane dashed off. Dude looked at Carlos and whimpered. It wasn't the right time, alright? Carlos responded, exasperated. Chapter 7. Fake it till you make it. More like fake it till you break it. I don't know how much longer I could pull off this charade before I completely snap. In the boys' dorm room, Carlos sat in the bed with his laptop and did. Alright. Carlos let out a sigh. How do you get out of the friend zone? He murmured as he typed into the phrase on the bus laptop. From the plain dog bed next to Carlos, dude studied the screen. Carlos handing a glare to him. I see you reading over my shoulder. Dude blinked at him. Mal burst into the room, shutting the door, locked it. She was panting. Mal paced back and forth, then saw the TV playing. The clip of Mal feeding the strawberries to Mal. She shutting off the TV. Mal's whole body was quivering, her eyes flashing a dazzling green, and a gust of magical power stirred her. Whoa, easy, girl. Carlos remarked. What? You think this is all so easy? Mal walked around his bed and faced him. You don't have every people taking pictures of you every single time you open their mouth to say boo. That's not even if I can say boo, but you know. Mal took a few deep breaths, and Carlos looked down and continued quietly typing on his laptop. Carlos, said Mal, throwing her hands up. He looked up. Yeah? He said absent-mindedly. Do you ever miss screaming at people and making them run away from you? Asked Mal, hoping that somebody other than her was missing the aisle. You're thinking of my mother, and I'm usually on the other side of it, so not really, said Carlos. Then he bolted up. Oh, hey Mal, did you bring it? Mal raised up her hips to show Carlos something rather than the doorbell. A second later, a key turned and lock of the door opened. Chad crept in. He saw Mal and Carlos. He froze. Hi, he said with his classic cheesy fake smile. I just came to your 3D printer. Won't be a sec, he said. Carlos gawked. How did you get a key to my room? Oh, I printed it the last time I was here, he said. Chad nonchalantly. You guys were sleeping. Chad strolled onto the 3D printer and turned it on. Come on, your 3D printer is so much better than mine, he said. And you installed all those hacks. Out. Now. Carlos pointed to the door, adding, leave the key. Fine. Chad. What do you need help with? Okay, continuing reading. Fine. Chad dramatically left the room. Yeah, I can see your message. What's wrong? Anyways, continuing. Carlos turned away from the door towards Mal. My question. Do tell me what's going on. Is something wrong? He asked. Mal lifted the cherry red gumdrop in her fingers. Yeah. Here you go. Carlos' face lit up. So, it will make me say what I really feel to Jane? He asked. I mean, it's a truth gummy, so take it or leave it. Mal said flatly. Awesome! Carlos reached out to grab it. Mal hid behind his back. No? Hold on. What? Asked Carlos. Do you really want to take this? Like, always telling the truth? I only ask because if you took this right now, you'll be getting myself kicked to the back of the aisle. Not by sounding ridiculous and appealing, but yeah. I take my chances. Carlos reached out of his hands. But before they do leap down and eat the gum drop from Mal's hands, Mal gasped, "Bad dog." Oh no. That's so sad. Okay. This is a serious moment. Can you call the police? Do you have police with you? Call the police. If you can. I'm trying to help you. Okay, call the police and tell them, okay? I don't want you getting hurt. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna continue on my book and pretend I didn't say anything, because that was scary. Oh, yeah. I can't help you on that, buddy. I'm sorry. Continuing on with the book, pretending I didn't see anything before I get scared. Dude jumped back onto the bed. Ugh, that thing was nasty, he said. And you? He spoke to Carlos. You just gotta man up. And while you're at it, scratch my bit. Carlos and Mal stared at Dude in amazement. Well, you heard him, Mal told Carlos. Scratch his butt. Mal left the room with the two to talk. She had a bigger fish to fry. Chapter 8. Speaking of fish behind the magical barrier keeping all the baddies on the Isle of the Lost, evil was afoot on the greasiest fish, I dare say, shrimpiest form. Ursula's fish and chips sat on the dirty wharf of the Isle of the Lost. A swashbuckling young man, Harry, son of Captain Hook, strolled towards the shop, holding a glint of silver looking in one hand. He wore a black pirate hat, a long leather coat, black pants, and a smirk on his face that made other pirates quake. His piercing green. Out of context, I did not expect his eye color to be green. I thought it was blue. His piercing green eyes and the sharpest cheekbones made it both beautiful and frightening. Harry passed through the dusty lane where beguiled pirates were settling the guarded waves. The dirty pirates regarded him with fear, leaping aside, huddling together, hiding, shaking, and watching him with his eyes as he walked by. Harry smiled to himself. He loved the attention. So do I. Oh, what am I reading? Oh, this is what I'm reading. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of childish, I know, but but I love the book so badly. Anyways, as I was saying, I gotta prop my leg. There we go. As I was saying, he crossed the dock with frail coils and a rope and cracked smile traps on either side. His footsteps sound heavy on the wood. Drawing his attention to the pirates lodging in the barrels and surrounding platforms. I think you just need to run. And why are you watching this? If you're running for your life, hello. Anyways, he stopped into the rotten store of plague reading. Ursula's fish and chips. The fearing Ursula, the sea witch in their glory days, hung outside it. Painted wood tentacles spiraled out like Ursula's power, but the whites of Ursula's eyes still glowed in the gloom. Before you could play, the signal reads, "You take it how I make it," before the lantern illuminating. The notice marked F for fail. Awarded by the Isles Department of Unhealthy. Jesus. With his hook, Harry lifted a string of silver from a pan rested on a dock beam. He regarded a red-haired pirate holding a fish hook rod. He tossed one fish back into the sea with a smile. The red-haired prince looked on, mortified. Harry turned on his boots and started through the seaweed-green swinging door of the diner. He entered the Either you're terrifying me or you are actually serious. Okay. He entered the dumpy, smelly eatery, which was filled with slubbering scallywags hunched over and mismatched tables. The pale steak of fried fish, which flit the filthy aesthetic, splintering duck beams, smashed lobster tramps, and old waterlogged organ. Chandeliers made of steering wheels and decided things like "tip or else" and "a boy must not wash hands." Besides fish and chips, the diner sold other slops, such as sea slugs, golf goo, and pickled livery. Harry stashed his sword into the rusty sword check-in urn by the door that held other. Excuse me? Are you giving much danger? Jesus. Okay. Then he handed his string of fish to the diner and a shade across the room. He approached the long wood table. Its stools were taken by a orderly crew of dim-witted teen pirates who'd take over the trays of fish and chips. Amongst them was Gil, Gaston's brawny son. Dang. Who's the who had dirty blonde hair peeping from Jesus. Who was peeping from the under cape, who wore an orange brown leather vest. What Gil lacked in IQ made up for Harry knocked the pirate aside, used his stool to hop over the table, and turned on the ancient fuzzy screen TV by whistling on a mule denial. There was an infamous on-aisle clip of Mal and Ben with their press conference. A teenager with long turquoise hair flopped a tray down on the food of the table in front of Harry, who looked hungry at it. Can we talk about that Disney used this wordplay in this book? I am being brutally... My God. The girl wore a turquoise leather jacket with frigid epaulets, a frigid skirt, and a brown pirate hat with starfish embroidered on it. She was every bit of a pirate punk, the also spitting image of the Swede witch Mother Ursula. Back into the day, the chorus Uma was the girl's name. She wore Ursula's gold necrotic shell on a gold chain. She thought the necklace had no power on the Isle of the Lost, where magic was forbidden. And as malignant as the TV which she had glared. Uma turned and grabbed a fish from Harry's tray and chucked it at the TV, angrily screams. "Ah!" she yelled, turning back to her pirate crew. "Poser," she shouted, referring to, of course, Mal. "What snake?" Traitor! Harry called out of the TV. Leaning on the table, Uma scanned the lounging pirates. Hello! She yelled. The pirates instantly heaved every bit of food within reach at the TV. They swore loudly and slouched back into their positions and howled a wicked laughter. Harry shook his fist at the TV. I would love to wipe that smile off their face. You know what I mean. He grinned at his scrawny, pretty eyes glistening. What is this wordplay? Oh, hi. I'm currently reading something because I'm bored out of my mind. Anyways, Uma turned on dim-witted Gil, who was busy eating eggs. Gil, she barked. Huh? He asked Gil, completely and utterly unaware. Uma leaned towards him. You want to kick chokeholding down yolks and get with the program? Gil mumbled with a mouthful of food, and he pointed. Yeah, what they said. Hi. Uma turned back to the others. That little traitor who left us in the dirt. Harry stuck food from his fingers. Who turned her back on evil, he said. Who said you weren't big and proud enough to be in her gang? Gil told Uma as he refilled his empty tray of food at the serving counter connected to the kitchen. Back when we were kids. Come on, guys, remember? Gil said, seething Uma. Run. Gil said, seething Uma. She called you Shrimpy and that name was just kind of stuck. As he was speaking, the pirates all grown very quiet. Uma rolled her eyes at Gil. That snooty little witch who grabbed everything she wanted. Uma smiled and left me nothing. Dang. Okay. The pirates looked at Uma from each other slowly. No, said Gil through a mouthful of soggy fries. She left you in that sandbox, he explained, obviously to Uma's annoyance. And then she said you could have that shrimpy shovel. Uma wailed to him. I need you to stop talking. Look, we have heard of now, Harry told Uma. They could stay in Foradon. Harry, that's her turf now, Uma cried, pointing at the TV, showing Mal's press conference. She switched it off. And I want it too. We should not be getting her leftovers. She grabbed the arm of Harry's filthy red jacket. Son of a... she said, lifted onto Gil's bicep. Son of Gaston! She looked at the grimly set Ealing. And me! Most of all! Daughter of Ursula! She looked at her. What's my name? She asked. Harry took off his hat and bowed down to her. Uma, he said, smiling. She stared at Gil, who looked up startled. What's my name? She yelled. Uma, he said with a mouthful of food. She sighed and turned to the other pirates, amused before her at the table. What's my name? What's my name? She called out to them. Uma! They boomed in unison. That's right. Uma. She felt her heart that she, not Mal, was the true princess of evil. Mal felt as her crew of pirates were the rottenness to the core. She showed Mal. Somehow, Mal strutted along the long table, her pirate crew cheering for her. Just then, long tentacle out of the kitchen lashed on Uma. Shrieking, Uma leaped out to dodge it. Her pirate crew ducked on the side of the table to avoid it. Shut your clamps! Bellowed Ursula's voice from the kitchen. Ma'am! Shouted. She tossed her hair and regarded to the virus. It's alright. Her voice got louder. Because when I get my chance to write down an Orvaldon, I will take it. Then they're gonna forget that girl. Remember the name! Shrimpy! Yelled Gil, slamming his fist on the table. Dude. Why? Everyone looked at him in silence. Harry glanced at Uma, who nodded. Harry led Gil to the door, threw him out the diner. Uma was satisfied that Gil was gotten what he deserves, but she couldn't truly be happy. Not until Mal got what she's coming to her. Chapter 9. Back in Oregon, things aren't always a bag of fish and chips either. I'm wrapping up the Princess Act for my big date. Here hoping. Ben bites. Oh my god, I've been streaming this for a long time. It was time. What? Okay, I'm taking a break from this book. So, I'm gonna take a break from the book. Just admit that this live stream was interesting, because all I've been doing was reading. Anyways, I'm gonna make a part 2. I'm gonna continue reading the book and yada yada. I'll continue reading the book and make another video eventually. Anyways, this was me reading a book, live stream, probably voice acting or other stuff. Anyways, that was the story. Good day. See you next time.